Yo, what's up?
What's good, man?
Nothing much. Glad to be back here on the Red Glare podcast. A lot to talk about, a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world of Houston, so it's a lot.
Yeah, man. Fasten your seatbelts.
Yeah, for real. Alright, so before we get started, go ahead and let them know where you can find you, man.
Yeah, man. Follow me on Instagram at PL Trinidad, as you see on the screen. Um, hey, man, I take all feedback seriously, so looking forward to connecting with some of you guys. Hit me up.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter at AlecMiller0423. They're talking about all kinds of stuff. And it's definitely a lot to talk about coming up right now, man.
Yeah, bro. We're living in the madness of March and some depressing days of the Rockets. Which one do you want to start with first?
Well, let's go ahead and start with the Rockets, man. So that was the most recent one. We are a Rockets podcast, so let's talk about how Steven Silas was just kind of dejected and kind of upset at his press conference this past week.
Yeah, man. I mean, 20 losses in a row. I don't think anybody expected the season to get this bad for the Rockets. Steven Silas he seems like a hell of a guy. Seems like he's bearing a lot of the responsibility about this. From day one with the Westbrook and James Harden wanting out. Steve Silas kind of took it on the chin. He answered the questions for Raphael Stone. As far as the media, he kind of yielded those questions and was very direct with the media when it came to answering those questions. So I think from day one, he accepted his responsibility. And, in the press conference where he kind of broke down, I think that's exactly what happened is, all the stress, all the responsibility, all the weight of this team and this franchise just kind of bear down on him. And he didn't even know what to say. He's been very eloquent in his responses all year, but losing takes its toll, man. And here we are. This is an historic time for the Rockets franchise. We haven't been this bad in a long time, and it's new for everyone.
Yeah, it does kind of suck because he was coming in thinking he was going to have James Harden, a healthy John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, and things just didn't go his way. Christian Wood, things just didn't go his way from the minute that Christian Wood went down with the injury. They've been on a losing streak since then, and
Yeah.
even with him gone, He's still dealing with the losses piling up. I think we're on what 20? Is it 21 or 20 now? I don't even remember.
It's for sure 20.
Yeah, it's in the 20s. And it just sucks because I don't think he's a bad coach, and I know some people are trying to say like, okay, maybe we have to start having that conversation, and I'm just not ready to have that conversation yet.
Same.
When you didn't really have any kind of like backup for him with the bad luck, John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, they're all still kind of good, but then DeMarcus Cousins leaves. James Harden basically doesn't really even show up, and he had to deal with all that. And then with his best player probably going out, Christian Wood going down the amount of time that he was down, he's just had a tough break. I don't think it's that anybody's playing not hard or they're like kind of coasting because and that's what I would put mostly on the coach. The coach his responsibility is to get these guys ready to play, and they always seem like they're ready to play, but we just either fall short or it's just a superior team.
For sure.
Kind of sucks when you can't even get one, man. Like it's hard.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
I can see where he's coming from, dude. It kind of feels like maybe like all the blame's gonna come on him. Maybe we are gonna see more people talking about Steven Silas not being the guy, but I'm just not ready to give up on him yet.
Yeah, me either. I completely agree with that, especially the first part of what you said. Like, there, like the saying goes, like you got to play the cards you were dealt, and he was dealt some bullshit hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think it also goes back, when we signed John Wall, when we signed DeMarcus Cousins. as some of these guys after Westbrook was shipped off. Like there was still uncertainty about their injury history and how they would bounce back. And I think that's still the same feeling in the roster now is uncertainty, right? Like we don't know what guys are going to get traded. We don't know who's staying, who's going. Cousins left, or I don't know if he's officially left, but we've parted ways with him. PJ's gotten traded, James is gone, Westbrook's gone, and that's one thing I notice when I do watch the Rockets is like there is this kind of feeling of uncertainty being carried with them. So maybe post trade deadline we'll see an improvement and we'll see a couple wins because now everyone will know where they're going to stay the next 6 months and things like that. That's kind of what I'm hoping is a best case scenario for the Rockets. I think losing to the Thunder was kind of like an eye opener for them. They already lost like 17, 18 times before that, but I mean the Thunder had almost like a G League team out there, so I think that really hit them hard. And I mean, if you're Rafael Stone, you have to see that, man. I mean, these guys are giving their best, but you got to if people are going to be moved, it's time to move them. This is the week to do it. So we'll see what happens after the trade deadline, man. I'm hopeful. I'm more optimistic that we'll see some wins.
Yeah, I am too. But because of how bad we are, it does allow us to look more towards the future. Because we have a high draft pick coming up, and there's some talented kids that are out there. Wade Cunningham is someone that, I mean, obviously everybody's got their eye on him, and even though he was bounced early from the tournament, he was still balling, so that's a guy that's definitely got to be on the Rockets' radar. And as long as Rafael Stone allows Steven Silas to kind of get the guy that he wants, I think is going to be key with this draft. Like you got to let Silas that he wants. I believe in Steven Silas. This is why I want Steven Silas is for the development of players. So I want to see him put that into work with a guy that he wants and maybe put some magic together like he did with Luka. Because if that's the benchmark, that's what I want.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, that's a good point on the player development. A lot of times in the NFL, it's like when a new coach is hired, like he has to get his quarterback, and that's kind of what I want to see with Silas because, Wall's kind of like a veteran, and Christian Wood, I mean that guy's obviously a diamond in the rough, but he is. I want to see Silas's floor general is what I'm trying to say. Who that's going to be, and usually it comes in the form of a guard. So. It would be great to see, Rockets get someone like Cade Cunningham and Silas mentor him and grow. That'd be amazing. I would love to see something like that. Like, when I think of Silas, I mean, when I see how bad the Rockets are now, I know coaches take time to develop, and it's not the greatest example, but even Shaka Smart at Texas, this is his 5th year, and finally we won the Big 12 championship. So, not saying that guy deserves any slack because he doesn't. But my whole point is, with Steven Silas, I'm fine with giving him 2 or 3 years, man, before I make some hard judgment on him. Because the roster's broken up, man. It sucks right now.
Yeah, I want to see him get a full off season because even before when he got hired, I mean, we didn't have any draft picks. We didn't have any first draft picks, and I think we got one, then we traded it away to.
Oh man.
To somebody else, so it's it just kind of sucks when you can't get something in that first round because with the NBA draft being 2 rounds, there's not very many opportunities to get talent. You gotta kind of find it outside in the G League or whatever. But I have this fan-sided NBA mock draft pulled up.
Sweet.
So
Okay.
First thing off the bat, I believe they're doing. I think he gets the draft order based off of odds at the moment, odds to win the championship.
Okay.
They do it, so or whoever's at the standing, I guess. But even though it's a what's it called, a draft lottery to figure. I think it was at the top 14 spots.
Okay.
So it's not locked in, but at the moment, the worst team in the NBA is the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, how have we lost
Which is crazy.
21 games and we're still not as bad as them?
I guess the worst part of it is there's a team that's even worse than us. But they have a great basketball player starting over there, man.
Yeah.
Anthony is explosive, dude. He's crazy.
Yeah, man. Don't give them the number one pick again. Come on.
That'd be messed up. That'd be messed up. So the Timberwolves obviously taking Cade Cunningham, as we talked about. I think he's kind of the consensus of all the mock drafts I've seen. He's kind of the consensus pick.
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham, which if you didn't watch him, I mean, see if you can find some highlights. He's a good talent. A point guard, but he's about like I think he's like 6'8" or yeah, like 6'8".
Yeah.
He's tall. He
He
built like he's built like Kawhi, like his body build. So this is a new thing. So the second pick is to the Detroit Pistons. Now, I don't know anything about these kids, but they're kids coming from the NBA G League, and I'm
okay.
assuming this is because there was no tournament last year, so players, I guess, some players didn't want to go into the draft. I mean, didn't want to go in the draft without having.
Oh, played. Right.
So I think they got to go to the G League, and one of them is Jalen Green. Next one is another G League, and it's the Rockets, and they got us taking a forward named Jonathan Kuminga. So fortunately, I don't know anything about these guys because of the NBA G League thing. But then you have Evan Mobley from USC, Jalen Suggs from Gonzaga. He's fantastic, and
Yeah.
And then number 6, Kai Jones from Texas is up there. So,
dude, if I could add on Kai Jones, I mean, that guy is an unbelievable talent. Like, he's still a raw talent, but that guy has hops, man, and he knows how to drive. He's like one of these like forwards with like that high release point on jumpers too. You know, dude, tremendous talent. Like, if the Rockets took someone like that. Most of those guys you mentioned, extremely talented, and I mean, you have to feel optimistic if they could snag a top 3 talent. That would be game changing for us. And not to mention, you got Kevin Porter Jr. already on the roster, and like Christian Wood. I mean, you would have a young core. Similar to like Golden State, like when they got Curry and Draymond and Clay all in the draft, like. I think that's kind of the idea is like, if your team's really bad, if you can at least develop a young core, I mean, it makes the future that much more entertaining and easier down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we also have another pick in the first round. It's at the 22 overall from Portland.
Right.
And they got us taking Josh Giddey from Australia. So another guy we aren't going to know much about, but I'm pretty sure by the time the draft comes around, there'll be all kinds of things on them. A second guy from Texas in the first round is Greg Brown, the forward. That's pretty cool.
Dude, so Greg Brown, I mean, he's one of, if not my favorite players. Unfortunately, like, he was kind of a guy who would, like, have, like, a hothead sometimes, or, like a coach wouldn't always play him. So, like an example is, like, during the game against Baylor, Texas and Baylor were, like, tied. And Greg Brown just had this crazy dunk, and like he like stared down the defender, like got the technical and all. And he was like trying to pump up the crowd, and kind of went a little over the top.
Okay.
And momentum swung towards Baylor because they hit their free throws and shit like that. So like, as far as like potential, sky's the limit for that guy. He just needs like the on-court discipline to avoid the techs, to know where the game is. But I mean, when you're talking like 3-and-D, that guy could easily be premier 3-and-D player. Hopefully, not saying the Rockets have to take him, but like if a team needs to develop, kind of that 3 position, that's a perfect guy to take with a lot of upside.
That's good to hear. And then you also have our third pick is at the 25th overall, and they got us taking Marcus Bagley from Arizona State. So just a little touch into like who's available, but yeah, man, I'm really hoping this skid ends soon. It'll be nice to see a smile on Steven Silas's face because I don't
definitely, bro.
See our coach like upset like that during that. Like, think about how that feels to the players. Like, damn, man, like we're messing up, coach.
Yeah, you're letting coach down every time. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree, bro. He deserves to smile, man. No one really deserves to lose that much, but it's the reality after your team gets gutted. So,
Hmm.
I mean, there's going to be a team on the schedule that's going to overlook us or not as good as us talent wise, and we got to take advantage of those nights, man.
Hmm.
Um, Also, like I want to see. It's kind of also is like when the team is this bad, then it's a good time for players to just like go for it. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I want to see some Kevin Porter Jr. and some Christian Wood just put the team on their back some nights and hey, fuck it. If we lose, we lose. But I want to see those guys put up some buckets.
Yeah, man, you want to make it, and you also want to like make it where players will want to maybe come over here next year. Like,
Right?
oh, I want to go play with that with Kevin Porter and Christian Wood type deal. I mean, John Wall's still gonna be contracted with us, so we'll stop John Wall. Really, the only
Yeah.
person I'll be on is Depot, and I mean, he's not really playing anyway, so with
Yeah.
his injury. So I'm hoping to get something good for him too. I'm not really sure, but I've heard there was a team. I think that the Warriors were,
Warriors. Yeah.
yeah, the Warriors were calling about Oladipo. So hoping we can get at least another first, whether it's this year or next year.
Same.
But all right, man. Let's a little score update because the Rockets are playing against the Raptors at the moment. It is 25-21 in favor of the Raptors. 2:13 left to go in the first. Leading scorer. Who do you think the leading scorer is right now? Based off of who's been
Porter Jr.
No, Porter Jr. hasn't even played yet. He might be out today.
Oh,
Sterling
okay.
has 13 already.
Oh, okay. Nice. I was
So
gonna guess Tate next.
yeah, no, Tate's got 2, but yeah, it's Sterling Brown, 13
That's
points.
good.
Balling out right now. He is 5 for 5 from the field. From the field, 3 for 3 from 3 points. So we'll see if it keeps going. And then top scorer for the Raptors is Pascal Siakam. So
Mm.
um, Christian would need to lock that down though.
Yeah. Come on, bro.
What are you doing?
Come on.
That or Daniel House?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So the score is pretty close still in the first quarter. So we'll get another one soon. Another little update. I'm pretty sure. I think it'll come up when it's halftime on my phone.
Sweet.
So one of my favorite things in sports started last week, and that's the NCAA tournament. Like that is one of the most genius things I think in sports going at the moment is the NCAA
Yeah.
tournament. Like I wish football could do it, but they can't. It's too violent of a sport. But and everyone's always looking for the next big Cinderella story, who's gonna make it. So the big one this year is Oral Roberts.
Yep.
Oral Roberts takes out the number 2 ranked Ohio State, and then proceeded to take out I think the number 11.
Number 7.
Or
I think they were 7. Yeah.
Yeah, they were 7. Number 7 ranked Florida, who I watched that first Florida game against Virginia Tech, and they're a good team. They play
Yeah.
hard. Oral Roberts, man, they shoot the lights out. The whole time when we were watching the game, I was watching the game. My brother was texting me, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on with Ohio State?" Because he's a big Ohio State fan. And I was like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "They won't stop. They won't stop shooting it. Like they can't miss." And I was like, "Man, this team right here." A. Smith is the guy that really stood out to me. I forgot who the other guy's name was, but I believe they're up next to play. I'm about to look it up right now. Oral Roberts is playing number 3 Arkansas next, who just out Texas Tech. So they got their Oral Roberts has their like work cut out for them in this next game, but it's really nice to see that at the moment that is going on right now. So Michigan takes out LSU, 86-78. We got Florida State taking on Colorado, and Florida State is up 52-41, and this is probably the closest in terms of numbers because this is the 5 seed playing the 4 seed.
Yeah.
This is
Good point.
So it's kind of interesting to see Florida State. I think I know some people online that picked FSU to actually win the whole thing, so that was a little surprising. But and then Alabama is up on Maryland 46-38. Probably keep an eye on both of those games because they're not as far apart. They're pretty close. So interesting. I have Alabama to win this round.
Same.
Going on to the final five. I actually have them in my final four.
They're a good team.
Yeah, I got them going up again. So my final four at the moment is Gonzaga, Alabama, and then I believe it is. Well, it was Oklahoma State, but that happened last night. And Baylor, and then Baylor and Gonzaga in the championship. So, do you want to give your final four and your?
Yeah, I'm kind of. Let me check my bracket, but I want to say it was I want to say Gonzaga. Here we go. I got it right here. Final four. We're looking at Gonzaga, Baylor, Houston, and Michigan. I don't feel great about Michigan. I think Gonzaga will beat them. And when it comes to Baylor Houston, I mean, I'm hoping for Houston, but Baylor's just like a way more complete team.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like people have seen Gonzaga or Baylor this year. Like those teams are dominant as hell, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Gonzaga hasn't lost. Like this is what we talked about before we started. Like, there's a good chance they're going to just clean this tournament. To be honest.
Yeah. They were definitely the two of the more dominant, like the two of the more legit number one seeds out of the other two.
Yeah.
Before, like it seemed like those were legit, and then Michigan and Illinois were definitely the lesser of the one seeds, I think for sure. So that's why I got them in my championship. And I just think Gonzaga's been so close for so many years. I just think it's kind of their time.
Yeah.
They've been owed one.
Dude, I hate to even bring this team up, but like one team that's freaking flying under the radar, even for me, is Kansas. Like they're the 3 seed. Texas actually was supposed to play them in the Big 12 championship, not the championship, the semifinal. But Kansas got positive COVID tests. So at the time, it was bad for them, but they kind of had an extended break before the tournament started, and I think they kind of have their legs under them. So I want to see what happens. You know, once they, if they can make a run, I mean, why not, dude? There's a lot of powerhouses that have been knocked out, so they have as good a chance as anyone else.
Yeah. So Kansas and USC actually just started.
Okay.
And in that game, let's see. I picked USC. So, well, I don't know.
Dude, I did too, actually.
So yeah, they're really good though, man. Another kind of team that I've been keeping my eye on. Where is it? I think Arkansas is starting to get into like creeping in my head.
Okay.
They kind of handled like Texas Tech, which just could not get into that game. They were behind the entire game basically, and closed it out strong. They played crazy defense. The key though is I think going up against Oral Roberts is that 3-point shot, man. Like they hit threes, they're consistent. A. Smith can get to the line. He's shorter, but he's a lot faster than the other point guards in the league. I mean, the tournament, I think. So I know Ohio State wasn't ready for him, and it seemed like Florida wasn't either. So hopefully, Arkansas, if they could be sleeping on them, but they also might not be. We don't know until we get to that game. That's on Saturday, is when the Sweet 16 starts.
Yeah, and the other matchups that, I mean, all these matchups are great. But to take it local, you know, the Syracuse versus Houston matchup, like for me, I think Houston is more of like a complete team talent wise, but dude, Syracuse has some of the best coaching, and I'm spacing on the coach's name right now. But dude, like that guy's an ace, man. Like I would love it if Texas fires Shaka Smart to go after him. There's a potential for an upset there, man. Then you look at the other one, Oregon State, Loyola Chicago. I mean,
yeah,
dude, Could it get any better for Loyola? I mean, Oregon State's a great team, but I mean, they have a more complete team. They've been dominant so far, and like if they play it right, man, they might be in the Final Four this year.
Yeah, man, they destroyed Illinois. What was that yesterday? Like, I
Yeah, I
was
watched that game, dude. Their big man was carving them up, dude.
so, and it's crazy because every team kind of had like remaining team kind of has a thing that they're good at, but it's not just all one thing. Like not everybody's all shooting threes, but you got like some team, and that's why I love the tournament because you got teams that can shoot threes going up against like teams that are dominant inside. That's probably what that Oral Roberts Florida game was to me is like the 3-point shot going up against the tougher, bigger guys in the middle.
Right.
They took care of it, but like I said, Arkansas is the same thing, the same kind of the same build as Florida, so it's going to be an interesting game for sure.
Dude,
So
I want to give a shout out to the center for Loyola Chicago because this guy's game is exactly like Luis Scola. Like, he's not athletic at all. This dude's just scooping and positioning and dunking, bro. Shout out Luis Scola wherever you're at, man.
that's a name I haven't heard in forever, man.
Yeah, man.
I love that guy. Yeah, he wasn't the most athletic guy. He wasn't gonna like shoot the lights out, but he was gonna get in there and get rebounds and hit you with the Luis Scola tango.
Yeah, fucking pump
Yeah, so
fakes, scooping and spins and everything, man.
hell yeah, man. So we need more of that in the NBA. We don't got enough of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mental guys in the NBA. It's all flash and threes. But
Yeah.
yeah. Um, we didn't even talk about did we talk about the All Star game?
No. Well,
Yeah.
we haven't recapped it. No, we have not.
Yeah. So I don't really want to get into the game. It was a great game, but man, I watched the 3-point contest for the first time in a long time. I kind of like gotten away from the 3-point contest and the dunk contest. They're just kind of like
Yeah.
nothing new to them, but this one was fun, man. So the final came down to Mike Conley and Stephen Curry, and like all the way down to the final shot. It was entertaining for sure. And Steph Curry should not be allowed to compete in 3-point shootouts. It's not fair.
Yeah, man. When you told me about that, I went and watched like the highlight the next morning. You know, these GD highlights and stuff on YouTube, and yeah, bro. Steph is just automatic, man. I'm glad to see people like pushing him every now and then, though, because it just shows like how much the game has changed since he came in. Like now you see people with like legit 3-point threat, like Damian Lillard, like shooting like close to the logo now, and like even LeBron like will throw it up every now and then. So yeah, bro, but Steph is still the best without a doubt.
Yeah, it was nice to see. I was rooting for Zach LaVine just so he could be the first player to ever win a dunk contest and 3-point contest. So I was hoping for that, but he didn't have a great showing. But Conley was showing them young kids that he still got it apparently.
Yeah, man. I mean, bro. I mean, if Conley hit that shot, like it could have easily been the Jazz versus because he missed that shot towards the end of the series against the Nuggets.
Yeah.
You know, so if he could have won, I mean, it could have easily been Jazz Lakers. That guy's a veteran, man. I have a ton of respect for him. Like I'm only hoping like they can make a deep playoff run. You know, just to see someone new.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of, I mean, we might get that because we haven't even gotten to the standings, man. That's my fault. Let's look at the East.
Let's do it.
Let me share the screen real quick so we can check it out. Especially with, us knowing that there's going to be a player or two out for a couple days, even longer. These standings could really change, but at the moment, I can actually zoom in so it can look a little better. So we gotta look at the top 10. So the top 10 is what we really want to look at because they have the play-in now. So
yeah, good point.
If you're at the 10 or the 9 seed, you're competing with the 8 seed to get that final seed. So and I like that. It's a lot more interesting. So top 10 in the East, 76ers still in first place. Kind of have been first place since the season started. You got the Nets James Harden finding his footing. Then people were talking about him for MVP. So the Nets are up there in second place. Third, you got the Bucks. Fourth, you got the Hawks. That's pretty cool to see there. The Heat at 5. The Celtics surprisingly at 6. And here's some surprises. The Knicks and the Hornets at 7 and 8. And then the Pacers and the Bulls at the 9 and 10 seeds. So I will say this: the Hornets, I think they're going to drop out
Same.
with LaMelo breaking his wrist. He's basically giving up the Rookie of the Year too. It seems like.
Yeah.
So which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And then seeing teams like the Celtics, who are supposed to be like this like complete team. Brad Stevens is is one of the best coaches in the league, and they are sitting not very pretty at 6. So that, and I like to see the Hawks at 4, but everything else is kind of good. I probably would have had the Nets at 1, but I mean Embiid is playing out of his mind, dude. Embiid is one of the best in the league at the moment. Probably my favorite to win MVP. It's hard for me to pick James Harden when we had a front row seat what he did to the Rockets for the first 10 games. So
For sure. Yeah, I think, and the thing about the East is like this 4 to 8 basically is like super interchangeable because I think it was last week I was shitting on the Hawks like because they were 19 and 20, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, dude, like they feel like they've underperformed this year, and they pieced together what is it? Yeah, right there, 8 games in a row, and it's like they're number 4 all of a sudden, so they flipped the switch. I'm hoping it's for good. Looks like I lost Alec. Yeah, man. I mean, the East is up for grabs is what it really comes down to. Long term, I'd probably expect the Nets. I mean, the Nets are king as long as everyone's healthy. So we'll see about that. But man, oof. 1 second. I don't think I have sound.
all right, sorry, we're having some technical difficulties here.
Yo,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right. Hey, it happens.
Happens.
But anyway, so yeah, let's go back. Let's go ahead and look at the West.
West.
Kind of got everything that we wanted to say about the East. So let me share the screen. And boom, there we are. So 1 through 10, we got it there. The Jazz sitting pretty at number 1, man. They've been so consistent. I'm actually like genuinely surprised that they're as good as they are this year. Same with the Suns. Like all they did was add Chris Paul basically, and it's taken them from
Yeah.
the cellar all the way to the 2 seed. We'll see if they keep it up. And then you have the Lakers at 3, and I think this is the problem because LeBron's out. He's supposed to be out for a couple weeks with a high ankle sprain, and
AD's still out.
AD is still out. So I don't know if I don't think they're deep enough to hold this. They might be looking to sneak in because 2 weeks is a long time.
Yeah, man.
So
I think, I mean, they're for sure at least going to slide to at least 5 or 6. Not looking good for them.
yeah, and that play. So if y'all didn't see when Solomon Hill dove for the ball after he got a steal on LeBron, is what ended up hurting LeBron. And I've been so mad because you see the bias in the national media and the LeBron James bias, where it's like everyone's basically. I've seen people say that Solomon Hill shouldn't have dove for the ball like that. It's the second quarter of a game in the middle in March, and I just think I hate when you hear that because then when you see a player that doesn't dive for a ball, they're not playing hard enough. But it's because of LeBron. Oh, he injured LeBron. That's ridiculous, man. It's just so upsetting.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, if you want to take it to the extreme of that, like when Beverly hurt Westbrook.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I mean, as a Rockets fan, you knew that guy always played to the whistle, you know. So leading up to that point, you kind of knew what Beverly was made of. But then when that actually happened, it kind of flipped the switch because the national media were not going to forgive him for that.
Yeah, man. They mentioned that. So I was listening to Undisputed today, and to defend his point, Shannon brought up the Beverly thing, and told Skip, you thought that Beverly did a dirty play, but now you're saying Solomon Hill didn't, and Skip's like, they're not the same.
Yeah, definitely not.
They're nowhere close. But at the same time, like you said, us here in Houston, we knew who Beverly was. Beverly doesn't no free walk-ups and call a timeout. Like no, like it's we're playing basketball, man. Like that's just not how it goes. And we knew that, but the national media was new to that. So they were like, "What? Somebody who plays hard?"
Yeah, exactly right. Somebody who challenges LeBron or Westbrook.
Wow, that's ridiculous. So he got chastised for that. I'm pretty sure that still follows him. But it's funny, the Mavericks are still kind of where they were before and haven't really made any headway, whereas the Spurs, who I thought were going to be like this in the cellar with us, they're in the 7th seed. Just to show you that Greg Popovich is probably the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah, I mean, Spurs still getting it done. What's crazy is I remember we talked about the Mavericks and the Warriors and kind of like it was too early to see what will go on with the Warriors. I think now we know they kind of are like a 500 team. You know, maybe they'll play in. The Mavericks, though, they are still, even though they're still struggling big time. Like they're not really consistent. They're definitely not like a contender at this point. So I think it also falls on the shoulder of like Kristaps Porzingis a lot. Like sometimes I have an explosive game. Other times he's kind of like in the shadows. But it's kind of interesting to me that there's a lot of talent at the bottom here, right? Like Mavericks, Warriors. I mean, even Blazers as the 6th seed. Like that's a talented squad, man. So. Well, you know, obviously things are still going to change, but we could maybe even see some upsets this year, you know, especially being a pandemic year. For these teams.
Yeah, and I think also with like the Grizzlies and the Pelicans being as close as they are, as it gets closer to the wire, these teams are going to play a lot harder. Just trying to, because all you really need is experience in the playoffs. You don't necessarily have to win the playoffs when you're young. You
Yeah.
just know what it's like to be in that moment, and that could be like really good playoff experience for guys like John Morant and Zion and
Right.
Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram hasn't even sniffed the playoffs yet, man. Like that's what's
Yeah.
crazy. He hasn't had one playoff game yet. Same with Lonzo. So those guys are gonna be itching at the bit, and it's up to the Mavericks, who we know what Luke is made of. We saw last year in the playoffs in that
Yeah.
game against the Clippers. Like we know he's legit, and same thing with the Warriors. But you can see teams like the Spurs maybe drop, but I don't know, man. It's close. It's definitely close. I would not put money on any of these teams, like as a
Right.
sure.
I think for me, like the Pelicans are probably the most underwhelming team like of the year for me. But, mainly because I thought they'd be so much better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is exactly. Like obviously, it's a new coach, it's a new system. I hear a lot of times like people don't think Van Gundy is playing Lonzo correctly or playing Ingram correctly. But yeah, man, I mean, I hate to see the Pelicans kind of in the same spot as last year and the same with the Grizzlies. Like, I, I, it would be great if one of them could kind of flip the switch, like you said, see some of that talent in the playoffs. But yeah, man, Pelicans, man, I hope they make a splash at the trade or something because you're wasting Zion's years, man. It's year two, but it's gonna fly by if you continue with this mentality.
Would you say Zion was your favorite player out of that rookie draft?
I probably liked RJ Barrett a lot more, like
Okay.
just because even at the time, like 3 and D was a little bit more big. Like now, like big men are getting more respect again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I really liked RJ Barrett. But I mean, clearly, like to me, like John Moran is the best now.
Yeah, and see, I love Ja coming out of college. I prefer Ja over Zion. So, whereas you said the Pelicans are your most underwhelming team, I think that the Grizzlies have been kind of my surprise. Where I've enjoyed watching their games. I think John Moran is a star. He's going to be a star in this league for a long time. He could possibly maybe be the face because uh,
Yeah,
he's just so good on the court. He's so explosive, and that's what gains. Uh, that's what gets used. That's why people tuned in for Zion was for the explosiveness.
right.
Um, I think Ja's showing that he could do it and be you're not worried about his health as much, like because everyone
Yeah,
always says like Zion is on borrowed time. Basically, he's way too big for his for the amount of force that he comes down on. That's not good for the knees. So
yeah.
um,
I think Zion is kind of like he needs like a sidekick or he needs to be someone's sidekick.
mhm.
I don't know who it could be, but like I feel like what they have for him in New Orleans isn't exactly going to complement it. So that's something I want to see like hopefully in the next 2 years, to be honest, because like I don't know if Zion's going to have like a 20-year career, right? Like it might be more like a 13 to 15-year career for that guy.
Mhm.
So we'll see, man. Hopefully Pelicans do something. Like I hate to see like wasted talent, man. That's one thing that bugs me, and Pelicans have that reputation right now, man. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. Think about the talent they have. They got Zion,
Okay.
Lonzo, and Brandon Ingram. Oh, sorry. They got Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, and Zion, and they're still bottom of the heap. I mean, they're competing, but at the same time, like that should be any coach would be like itching to get their hands on those three players
Yeah, I
playing
think
together.
they're gonna. I feel like they're gonna have to move like Lonzo or Ingram. Not saying
Mm-hmm.
I would like. I would like to keep them, but like I think at some point they're gonna have to choose like stylistically, like who's gonna help Zion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we'll see, man. Lonzo's getting better too, man. So I give him a lot of props.
Yeah. So before we head on to one of our sadder topics to talk about, I'm gonna go ahead and give a quick update on the games that we have going on at the moment. So as soon as this uh, loads, instead of acting like a dumbass. All right, college basketball. We got Maryland is behind on Alabama by 11. It's 51-42, so Alabama's up. The Kansas and USC game has started. It's about 8 minutes in, and USC is up 12-3.
Wow.
And then we have a final. Florida State defeats Colorado. So we got two more games on. The Alabama Maryland game is in the second half, and USC Kansas just started. So still plenty of game to go in both games. And then on the Rockets side, it is 2 minutes until half, and the Rockets are up 54-49. Like to see that. That's what we like to see. Stats, we got Sterling Brown still 16 points is the leading scorer, but John Wall's got 8. Jayshawn Tate has 7.
Good.
Daniel House has 7. Christian Wood 0 points so far, 1 rebound. So he's having a quiet night. But
Yeah.
Ben McLemore also coming off the bench with 7. So
Okay.
there's that, and then it's still Pascal Siakam 10 points. So they got 3 players in double digits. You got Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, and Nick Powell with 11,
Okay.
10, and 12 respectively. So yeah, let's get to the sad part of our night tonight, and that's the allegations that have been brought forward on Deshaun Watson. So I know that so far it is only civil suits, but currently there's about, I think they said 12 women, the last update is 12 women have come forward and accused Deshaun Watson of, some have said harassment, some have said assault. So it's scary, man. Just tell me your thoughts going through your head, like when you first heard this.
Yeah. When I first heard it, I read the story. Basically, when it first came out, it was mainly that he had exposed himself inappropriately to, a massage therapist. He had flown one to his house, I believe, and it was just kind of like refusing, like, put on his clothes, and just kind of uncomfortable things like that. When it first came out and Deshaun tweeted an apology, not an apology, I take that back. He wanted to clear the air. So Deshaun basically said, "Hey, like, I'm not gonna settle for a lawsuit. Like, I'm gonna defend my name. I've never mistreated a woman, things like that. All the right things. Honestly, he said all the right things. And at that point, it kind of seemed like, well, this could be a false allegation. But then, things started pouring in, multiple lawsuits, multiple women coming forward, more like a pattern of behavior. And then I think at that point for me, I couldn't really read more because it was already an uncomfortable situation. A lot of fans said this was something about Texans ownership doing this. But I think after like the third lawsuit, I think I kind of dismissed that theory. Yeah, man, I'm not sure what's going on with Deshaun Watson, man. I really hope the best for him. I think he's a talented young man. But sometimes struggling on the field or not getting your way, sometimes there's other causes of those problems at the roots, and he could have been going through this stuff in the past year, and now we're finally seeing it in the light. So I'm disappointed, to be honest. Like I'm disappointed. I hope it's not true, but yeah, I mean, with like 10 lawsuits and 12 women, it's hard to think it's all coincidence.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So my first thoughts were, I know probably in the past I would have said like, oh, it's fake, it's conspiracy theory, blah blah blah. But my first thought immediately went to, before we start saying these women are lying, before people start saying that this is some kind of conspiracy brought up, like it needs to be treated as if it were true. Take these women seriously, take these claims seriously. Even when I think it was just the first 3, I was saying this, where it's like we have to hear these women out, because if we don't, like that's what makes women and victims not want to come forward and admit what happen to them. And I think that we can't set that precedent. If we keep setting that precedent just because the person that we find out is someone that we really like or someone that's beloved in the city of Houston, because he's 100% beloved here in Houston. And no one has been more upset by the fact that he doesn't want to be here. But if these are true, and it's starting to seem like the more cases come up, like it's not like anything that to me is unbelievable. Like I can believe anybody that I know or any man is capable of doing what he did, and so it's not like out of the realm of possibility that he did that. He's not raping these women. He's not sexually assaulting, but he is putting these women in awkward positions. He has power over them because in the report he hired them, and sometimes when you do that to someone that you kind of have power over, that's super inappropriate, super disrespectful for one. Like that's just weird. You don't do that. And my biggest thing is like, Deshaun, what are you doing, man? Like, I think I heard it. I think Shannon Sharp was talking about it today on Undisputed, where he was just like, that's just not something, like that's just not smart. Like, you're Deshaun Watson. You can go into any. He's like, he can go into any club, any bar, and go to a woman and say, I'm Deshaun Watson, and not have any problem. Like, why are you going about this weird, creepy way of like getting whatever you need out of something? Like, it's just, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. And I just think everything, because ever since so he came out, I think after the first 3 and said that these claims are a lie and all this other stuff. But ever since it's just the list keeps getting longer and longer. You're not hearing him talk anymore. He's not putting out statements anymore, and I think that's kind of telling. I know probably his lawyer's telling him like stop going into the right. At the same time, it's just like I don't know. It looks weird to me. But I'm not a lawyer at the same time. I think sometimes that can be someone going to a lawyer not talking can sometimes come off as bad. So I might be guilty of that right now, but. I don't know, just we have to take everything seriously, and if the NFL finds something, he needs to be punished accordingly. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure this will still. I don't think he'll be out of the league. I don't even think this will hurt his. From what I've seen from reports, this isn't even hurting his interest that he's garnering from other teams.
Okay.
And it's kind of weird because, like, even Shannon Sharp said too, is like. He's going to be out for 6 games. Oh yeah, we'll take that, and we still have you like contracted for 4 years. Like basically saying like he's still gonna get a job around here, and so that's really weird. You would think this is normally, I guess now in this climate, you put this, you kind of compare this with like other cases of people like getting canceling. Even though I hate cancel culture, don't get me started on that, but it's just surprising.
For sure. And I think also that's a good point. Like, NFL's also pretty inconsistent with their punishment, Mm-hmm. Everyone would always say, like, Ray Rice got, like, 2 games for, like, punching his girlfriend, but a player could get, like, 6 games for, like, marijuana use or, you know what I'm saying? Like, just weird things like that. So I could see how teams still have interest because I guess they figure, even the most severe penalty will still be okay. It kind of, maybe it plays into the Texans' hands too, because if they're really committed to Deshaun, then you just tell them, hey man, look, you're tied up here. You got to play through this. And, it's the same way Kobe bounced back. When Kobe had his issues, he stuck it through in LA, even though he wanted to be traded and came back a better person and a better player. So I really hope Deshaun turns the page, man. I don't know what's going on with this. Maybe he's lost. Maybe he lost an interest in playing because the Texans were so bad and just got into some deep shit. But I really hope he turns the page, man, and he comes back a better person, dude. Because he's capable of being better than this type of stuff. And we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, for sure. I'm right there with you. It just sucks to see this happen to like such a young guy, and he's got his whole career ahead of him. He's one of the top talents in the entire NFL, and to have something like this kind of following you around. The best thing he could do is just settle it, get it settled, and if he's innocent, hold true to that. But if he's not, just do the time, whatever that is, whether it be. So right now they are only civil lawsuits. They aren't doing any. It hasn't been any criminal charges weighed against him yet. So we'll. See. I mean, there's still time, but at the moment it's just the civil lawsuits. He just has to go into civil court. And I believe the thing about civil court is you don't have to have as much evidence. It's not you don't have to prove somebody guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I believe there's a wording for it where it's a little bit more. It's a little bit like more flexible for how you can find somebody guilty. So let me see.
And that's a good point too. While you search that, and I'll add to that is like, there's probably not a lot of evidence of him actually touching, but from what I understand, there is evidence of like text messages of like him kind of coming off guilty and things like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all gets incorporated, into a final verdict, if he did it or not.
Yeah. So So the difference between a criminal and civil case. This is whatever. There was like a word that I mean, there was like a phrase how they had it like explained. But yeah, basically, you don't have to have as much evidence. You don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone is innocent or guilty. You just have to kind of place the evidence before, and if the the judge finds it that's enough evidence, then it's
right.
enough. But yeah, like you said, those messages, I believe it was like him apologizing to one of the women who have come forward. So it's pretty incriminating, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So that's not a good look. But I don't know, we'll see going forward. But before we head out of here, let's mention some of the signings that the Texans had. So Texans signing a lot of people to kind of 1 year deals.
1 years.
I was telling my brother it's just to fill up a roster so that Culley can get through the next season, because kind of like how I felt about Steven Silas, like his doesn't start till next year. I think David Culley should be given the same kind of leeway and look forward, like just get ready for next year. Like this is a kind of a free year. If you get an early draft pick, cool, even better.
Right.
So just good enough. But basically we're fielding 3 starting caliber running backs in my opinion, with David Johnson, Mark Ingram, and Philip Lindsay, which was kind of a surprise. I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah.
But definitely gonna be fun. I mean, I like running backs and I like Philip Lindsay, so it's gonna be cool to see them in Texans uniforms. We did lose Will Fuller to the Dolphins. We did trade Bernardrick McKinney to the Dolphins because apparently we like Dolphins. And I feel like we picked up Shaq Lawson in that trade for Bernardrick McKinney, and I remember my brother-in-law texted me because he's a Dolphins fan. So he was like, "Oh, we won the trade," and I'm like, I look at it more like kind of a straight up even trade, because we need pass rushers. We don't necessarily need as many inside linebackers.
Yeah.
Like I think Zach Cunningham, especially if we switch it to the 4-3. I would love to switch back to the 4-3 instead of the 3-4. But I think Zach Cunningham can man the middle perfectly fine, and we need pass rushers after losing JJ.
Yeah.
Did we mention? Oh, I think we did mention that he went to the Cardinals last time.
Right. Yeah, we did when David was on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Will Fuller. I mean, sometimes like I kind of get pissed off, like because I'm like, man, like we traded Hopkins, so you kind of thought Will Fuller was the future, but they kind of made Brandon Cooks the future. So I kind of get like pissed off still thinking about that Hopkins trade. But like when I try and get past that, like also the wide receiver position is a lot more like there's a high supply Still, like there's plenty of free agents, and I haven't checked in a couple days, so some of these guys might have gotten signed. But at one point you were looking at AJ Green, Kenny Stills, Antonio Brown, Will Fuller, like all these guys were free agents. Which is shocking. I mean, because 4 years ago I would have never imagined all these receivers were free agents. So yeah, man. Like I'm still a bit bitter about the Hopkins thing, but at the same time, like I also see realistically, like wide receiver is kind of becoming a bit more disposable, like the running back position is, because there's just so much talent, and then like as the drafts come in, there's even more people, that. So yeah, man. I just hope like it comes back to Deshaun and hoping he's in the right mindset, but I hope we can at least those are three talented running backs. You can get him a couple more receivers and. Then you maybe focus on the O-line in the draft and things like that. I mean, I don't see why we can't be competitive, but like you said, this year we're definitely not close to being a contender. We got to see what Coley's going to do on the field. My worst fear is like this is like a 0-16 year, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't say 0-16. I think I told my brother. I think we could take 5, but I think that might be a little generous. But at the same time, it's not. I don't care about winning this upcoming season. It's about getting a good draft pick. And I'm wondering also with, like you said, with the abundance of receivers, because of the abundance of receivers, the draft receivers are starting to get taken later and later. You're not seeing as many like top tier receivers, and if they are like going in the first round, it's always in that big cluster, like right around the middle, closer towards the end of the round. It's always like I think this past year it was like CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, T. Higgins, and all of them were kind of taking like this one little blob, and then you had Justin Jefferson and stuff like that. Whereas the year before that, you had DK going closer towards the second half. I mean, the second in the second round, I believe. So I'm wondering maybe they think they can sneak up to grab one, or maybe sneak up and or maybe hope that one slips all the way to them. So there's that. And yeah, like you said, like receivers were going crazy this past year. Will Fuller to the Dolphins, Kenny Galladay signing that big deal to the Giants was huge, and then AJ Green signing with Arizona. So yeah, the receivers, they're kind of moving around a lot. So I'm interested to see if they have anything in store. Brandon Cooks restructured his deal, and that's really it. But I can see them using David Johnson as more of a running back. I mean, as a more receiving running back coming on, running 3 running back tail monster that they're going to have going. But yes, we'll see. We'll definitely see. But we're getting a lot closer to the draft, which is my favorite day in sports. Really, is the draft. I love the NFL draft. So yeah, we're getting there, dude. But before we head out, since we are a Houston sports thing, I got to bring up in May. I don't remember the exact day, but in May, the UFC is coming to Houston. We are open at 100% capacity now. So first big sporting event here in Houston is going to be the UFC. As soon as I can look up which UFC it is, I keep forgetting. These numbers are very confusing. It's 262, I think. Yeah, 262. And so far, the only confirmed match is Charles Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler for the vacant UFC lightweight championship, since Khabib Nurmagomedov this past Saturday has confirmed that he is 100% retired, never going to return. So that's crazy. And I kind of want to get vaccinated now so I can go, because I really want to go. But I want to get vaccinated first.
Well, when my brother first told me that, I mean, I was excited. Like, I mean, I don't even know if I'll go, but I was just excited to hear that it was coming.
It's just like it's to me, I look at it as it's progress, man. Like we're getting a little bit back to normal. Obviously, there are some things that we have to be careful of. Like just like I don't want to go because I don't want to go until I get vaccinated. I know it's not a for sure. It's not a cure, but at the same time, a little bit of peace of mind.
Yeah.
But it just feels like things are getting back to normal. I know everyone was, including me, were afraid when Greg Abbott decided to lift the mask mandate, but I mean, everyone freaked out about the mask mandate, but then when you like read into it, you realize, other businesses can make you wear your mask. Like it's
Right. More of a headline.
yeah, it was just like that, and then everyone was giving him hell for it, including me. And then I don't remember who I heard talking about it, but it was like if Greg Abbott does this and the numbers kind of stay where they're at, or they go down, or as long as they don't spike, he'll kind of be looked at as a genius because someone eventually had to open. And I don't think like we're so bad, but we're not. It's not spiking the way that everyone was kind of expecting it to spike. So it's kind of interesting because, and then you're giving businesses the right and the freedom to not only have masks, but you don't have to open at full capacity if you don't want to. You can you use your own discretion. So, like I just went to Apple to go get my phone fixed, and they're not letting anybody in the stores.
Yeah,
it's everything is appointment. If you have an appointment, you get to get seen. If you don't, then you got to make an appointment. And so there's still that going around. So it's interesting.
Also, Dana White, he was one of the first people trying to get the sport resumed when everything happened. Like, and I remember he was planning a fight like a month after the pandemic, and I think he basically said like somebody from Disney made him a call and was like, "Hey, this is the right time for this."
Yeah.
And he eventually put on successful events after that. He didn't let it stop him. So, I also just want to point that out. Like Dana's worked super hard to keep the UFC going, and it's cool to see it come full circle. Assuming everything is fine and the risk is a lot lower. It's really cool to see him like be persistent and see his goals through. And yeah, I wish him a successful event. Hopefully the fight card gets built out if it's going to be packed. Might as well put on a good show.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, the last fight that we had here in Houston was John Jones versus Dominic Reyes, and that was a great fight. So, these two guys, Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler, tune in on Wednesday for the Arm Bars and Suplexes podcast, where we'll talk more in depth about that. But that's a really good fight. Charles Oliveira is one of those guys who has been secretly just kind of going through the division, winning. He's on a couple fight win streak. Just took out Tony Ferguson, dominated Tony Ferguson in three rounds. And Michael Chandler, his first fight here in the UFC, he was amazing. He's great. He was great in Bellator. That's where he kind of made his name. So when he came to the UFC, he got a kind of a fast track pass. Fought one of the top 5 guys, knocked him out in the first round, highlight reel knockout. So these two guys going up against each other is going to be a fun fight, and it kind of is confirming that I think we're going to get Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 3. That's what
That'd be lit.
Dustin said, that he wants that fight on Joe Rogan's podcast. He wants that fight. He also said he would like Nate Diaz. Now he wants the money fights, and give it to him, man. Like after when you knock out the top star like that, you deserve all the money in the world. So get that closer towards the maybe for fight week, which is like in July, would be interesting. But we got actually a big pay-per-view this weekend. We got Stipe Miocic defending his heavyweight belt against Francis Ngannou. And if you don't know who Francis Ngannou is, look him up on YouTube. You're gonna find some good knockouts there. Ngannou has lost to Miocic, but this is a very focused Ngannou, so it's gonna be a good fight. And it's gonna be a good fight. Got some other big fights, so if you can, get the fight this weekend and make sure you watch it, and then tune in on Monday so you can tell me if you watched it or not. But let's go ahead and get out of here. It's already late.
All right, man. Just want to give a shout out on my other podcast, the OP Club. We dropped an episode today. It's with my barber, and we're actually going to give away a free haircut tomorrow. So, yeah, man. If you're in Austin, or if you're willing to travel to Austin and want to have a professional barber work on you, Check out the Instagram. Once again, follow me at PL Trinidad, and look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, if you don't live in Austin, still do it because you can make a weekend out of it and go to six.
Yeah, the bars are open.
Yeah, the bars
I'll
are
tell
open.
you that.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter, AlecMiller0423. We should have the podcast, the ANS podcast, on Wednesday to talk about the upcoming pay-per-view. And it's been on a hiatus, but maybe Sinister's movie night will be coming back. Not sure when though, but I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah, if throughout the week, if there are any stories you specifically want to talk about, or you have anything interesting you want to tell us, please shoot us a message or tweet us or anything, and we'll definitely talk about it in the next episode. But next week, 8 o'clock, we'll be here. So, see you guys next week. Peace out.